Welcome to Move the Chains with Jonathan Rivers. Here's your host, Jonathan Rivers.
And let there be football as always. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Jonathan Bam Rivers. I just want to let you guys know there's some things that scare me when it comes to 2024 in the NFL. Yeah, I've got some fears. I'm just going to be honest about it. I've got some fears. There's some things that really make me scratch my head, and I think they can have a profound impact on some playoff chances, a playoff hopes, a Super Bowl aspirations for some teams, for some coaches, and absolutely for some players. So that'll be the first thing I dive into, my biggest fears in the NFL in 2024. And as always, I'm going to go to social media to answer your questions. There are a lot of people who think a certain quarterback that just got paid doesn't deserve it, but yet they don't keep that same energy for other quarterbacks who haven't accomplished as much, who may have accomplished the same thing. So I'll definitely talk about that in one of the social media questions that I have. And in my nonsense narrative, game manager. Such a loaded term. And people use it incorrectly because I think they don't really have a sense of the nuance of the NFL and of football in general. So I really beat the drum when it comes to my nonsense narrative on that term game manager. And did you know that there are probably a whole lot less number one picks in the Hall of Fame than you believe to be? And I'll tell you why the NFL draft, to be honest with you, may be nothing more than a crapshoot. But all that and more right here on Move the Chains, but you know what time it is. Let's kick it off with first down. All right, so like I said, moving into the 2024 season, there are a lot of things that I'm optimistic about. I think there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to do some great things for specific reasons that I truly feel are going to come to fruition. But man, there's some things that really scare me in 2024, and I'm going to tell you what they are. And here's the first one. Greg Roman being the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. And if you don't know who Greg Roman is, it's the gentleman right here on your screen, but he's also the former offensive coordinator, that's right, for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, by me saying this scares me, does it mean that I'm saying that I don't think Greg Roman should be the offensive coordinator for the Chargers? No, man, I'm not saying that. I actually think because of the style and the scheme that he likes to run and understanding who Jim Harbaugh is. Remember, Harbaugh signed off on this. Harbaugh wanted to bring him in based on the way he likes to run the football. I get it. The one thing that scares me is I know what happened when Greg Roman was the offensive coordinator for the Ravens. The Ravens were dynamic running the football. They were one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. But I think when teams were able to stop the run or teams were able to load the box, there weren't second and third options. There were no contingency plans schematically for the Baltimore Ravens when Greg Roman was the offensive coordinator, which is why he ended up resigning. Because everybody said that the Baltimore Ravens, even though they have Lamar Jackson, who's the most dynamic runner in the NFL, they have to be able to do things in the passing game as well, and it wasn't there. And see, Justin Herbert is a quarterback who's never been questioned when it comes to his passing. He's been somebody that can throw the ball down the field, can make every throw literally on the field, and I think a play-action game will help Justin Herbert. I think it's what he needs. But I haven't seen Greg Roman be an adjuster when it comes to the NFL and his offensive schemes. So because of that reason, it kind of scares me. And one reason it scares me is because, as you know, I believe in the combination of Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, even though I think Justin Herbert has woefully underachieved in the NFL thus far as well. And I'll talk about that later. But that's one of my biggest fears. Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator for the LA Chargers. All right, so my next fear, Mike Tomlin's loyalty. Let me tell you something. I don't want to say this as if loyalty is a bad thing. I think it's fair to be loyal. And in the NFL, teams can be loyal to players. You see them pay them. Players can be loyal to teams. But the reason I'm talking about Mike Tomlin's loyalty is because the Pittsburgh Steelers over the past 3 to 4 years have really lacked at the quarterback position. And they've lacked since Ben Roethlisberger retired, right? But remember, Ben Roethlisberger was also deteriorating in terms of his play on the field. And Tomlin didn't want to make that transition. Tomlin didn't necessarily want to move forward. Tomlin didn't necessarily want to bring in a succession plan, kind of like Green Bay did with Jordan Love coming in behind Aaron Rodgers. And see, Green Bay is now set. Now, the Steelers went out and got Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. So my question is, if Mike Tomlin is loyal to one of those two quarterbacks, will that hurt his team? Because we know this guy hasn't had a losing season as a head coach. I told you he's a top-tier head coach. But I do think because he's so loyal, sometimes it may be an impediment to the growth of his team. So coming in right now, you don't know if you have quarterbacks of the future. Presumably you have one in Justin Fields, and presumably you have a quarterback of the present in Fields and Wilson, whomever may be the starter. Time will tell. But I don't want Mike Tomlin's loyalty to affect the team like I think it did when he held on to Ben Roethlisberger a little bit too long. All right? My next fear, Jared Goff being underappreciated and underrated, whatever you want to call it. This is a guy who I don't even want to say he's disrespected because Jared Goff probably doesn't care, right? What I'm saying is Jared Goff has been to 3 Pro Bowls, 2 different teams. Jared Goff has led 2 different teams to a conference championship game. Jared Goff has led a team to the Super Bowl. And all I see with Jared Goff, plus he's 16 games over 500 when it comes to his win-loss record. And I see so many people, Justin Herbert's one of them, so many people that they put ahead of Jared Goff when it comes to their quarterback rankings. And see, you don't see me rank quarterbacks or rank teams and all that type of stuff because I think it's so subjective. However, when I do these things, and if I do them in the future, I will have a criteria. Most people don't have a criteria. They have Jared Goff behind a lot of different quarterbacks who have done nothing that he's done. And for people who say quarterbacks like a Justin Herbert or quarterbacks like Tua Tagovailoa, what have you, hey, they were able to bring these teams out of the abyss. C.J. Stroud's a great example. I'm not saying C.J. Stroud's overrated. I'm simply saying he was able to become the quarterback of the Houston Texans and completely flip that franchise along with DeMeco Ryans. Didn't Jared Goff do the same thing with the Lions and Dan Campbell? I'm just saying. That's my point. So I think the Lions got a great opportunity when they got Jared Goff, the same way the Rams got a great opportunity when they got Matthew Stafford. And I think Jared Goff is woefully underappreciated, and that's my biggest fears, that it'll continue to happen unless he wins the Super Bowl. All right, my last fear, the 49ers star holdouts. This is a team that's had 2 shots to win a Super Bowl in the past, 4 or 5 years or so? And the reason it scares me because, one, Brandon Ayuk is a phenomenal wide receiver, one of the best route runners in the NFL, and Trent Williams is just a dog, future Hall of Fame left tackle. I mean, Ernest and I, the director of the show, were talking about this before the show. The way that he can position his hands and his feet are unparalleled. Now, I think guys like Penei Sewell and Tristan Wirfs are also some of the best tackles in the game, and they're younger. But Trent Williams is a beast. But the reason it scares me is because the 49ers championship window is going to be closing. You see it happening now because they were in a position to where they had all these great players offensively and defensively and had everybody under contract. But, man, people want their bread. They want to get paid. And when you got these people that want to get paid and they're holding out, it shows that they feel like their worth is more than what you're giving them as a team. And the dynamic that the San Francisco 49ers have had might be diminishing because they may not have the same talent. And remember, they're probably going to pay Brock Purdy after this next season, and that's going to diminish and hurt the salary cap even more when it comes to paying the players around him that you need to help be successful. All right, those are my biggest fears for 2024 to this point. When we come back from the break, we'll have your social medias. We'll be back with more Move the Chains right after this. And welcome back into the show. And before we get to second down to your social media questions, as always, I want to take this time to give all glory and honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for this opportunity to be the host of Move the Chains. And I want to thank you, the fans. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing to the YouTube channel. @_move_the_change. I appreciate everything. And I always want to give a shout out to the best production crew in the business. Every week that we're here, they come in and they grind just like I do. And I appreciate it. And it shows up on the screen to give you this product. So shout out to the best production crew in the business. All right, but you know what time it is, man. Let's run second down. So I just took the time previously in first down to run through some of my biggest fears in 2024. And I kind of want to transition that because I think a lot of people are afraid of their premonitions and their opinions not coming to fruition and not coming true. And I think that's why they judge a lot of quarterbacks specifically, a lot of players, but a lot of quarterbacks specifically when it comes to their production and what they feel like they do or don't deserve. So let's go ahead and run to the social media questions. All right, first question, perfect. Why do so many people discount Tua Tagovailoa? I can replace discount with hate. I can replace discount with a multitude of different words. But I think it's because of where he was drafted. If you remember, Tua Tagovailoa was in the same draft as Justin Herbert and got drafted 1 pick before him. And everybody loves Justin Herbert. And they'll say, well, Tua doesn't deserve the bag. He hasn't done anything against winning teams. He has a losing record against winning teams, which is true. Tua hasn't been healthy but 1 full season in the NFL, which is true. See, my argument is that I just disagree with the philosophy of paying a quarterback solely based on projection, which is what the NFL is doing now. Right? Like, this is the statement the NFL has made. We're going to pay quarterbacks whom we deem franchise quarterbacks all this money because it's the next man up. That's why I told you I think there are only 2 elite quarterbacks in the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. But pay your quarterbacks whatever you say you want to pay them because that's your decision. See, I disagree with the philosophy. The problem I have with people is that they don't disagree with the philosophy, but they disagree with Tua. getting paid. But you don't disagree with Justin Herbert getting paid, whom also has a losing record. By the way, Justin Herbert has the most losses since he's been drafted than any other active quarterback. I bet you didn't know that. So my point is, I don't care if you have a problem with Tua, but have the same energy towards every other quarterback as if they are Tua Tagovailoa. Because if not, you're just looking at Tua as if he can't get the job done, which he did lead his team to the playoffs. He was an MVP candidate for about 2/3 of the season last year. I'm not saying he doesn't need to be better. I'm not saying Miami doesn't need to be better against better teams. They absolutely do, but keep the same energy for other quarterbacks who are in the same situation as Tua have, who have gotten the bag and haven't necessarily proven that they deserve it yet. All right, what do we have next? What team is being overlooked in 2024? The Minnesota Vikings. Straight up. 2 years ago, they went to the playoffs with Kirk Cousins, had a phenomenal offense. We're 32nd, dead last in the NFL on defense. Brian Flores comes in last year, first year of that coordinator, they move up to 15th or 16th. Halfway up. That's huge. And now Sam Darnold, not J.J. McCarthy, they've got him for the future, but I think Sam Darnold's going to be the starter there. And everybody thinks the NFC North is going to be the best division. I don't necessarily disagree. I think it's going to be loaded with the Packers and with the Lions. And of course, the Vikings are being overlooked in my estimation. They're being overlooked because I think Sam Darnold is a dual-threat quarterback who has been in horrible situations in the past, and now he has weapons unlike any other team. You're not going to see too many teams that have as many or more weapons than the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not necessarily calling them to win the division. I'm not saying they're going to make a deep playoff run, but nobody's giving them credit for doing anything, and I think they can definitely be a team competing for a wild card spot in the NFC in 2024. All right, what's our last question? Is this a proven year for Kyler Murray? Point, yes. One, the coach is now not Cliff Kingsbury. It's not the guy they wanted you, Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray was getting better every year as a starter, guys, right? But then he got hurt. And then when you get an extension and then they put language in your extension that says that you have to study X amount of hours, it shows an unprofessional aura. Now, I'm not saying Kyler Murray is. I don't know the situation, but that's what it projects to the public, that there's unprofessionalism if you have to put into an NFL quarterback's contract that he has to study X amount of hours. It is a proven year because the coach there is not your coach who drafted you. And I'm telling you, Arizona has now drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. and they're trying to build around him. They'll have no problem going to get a quarterback through the draft if Kyler Murray doesn't perform. All right, that's it for your social media questions. When we come back, it's my favorite segment, my nonsense narratives. We'll be back and we'll move the chains right after this. And welcome back into the show. It's time for my favorite segment of the show. And I'm not going to delay it any longer. It's time for the nonsense narrative. You remember when everybody got mad at Cam Newton when he called Brock Purdy a game manager? And this was a guy in Cam Newton who won a MVP, has won a Heisman, has been to the Super Bowl, has been multiple-time Pro Bowler, All-Pro, all that type of stuff. People had a problem with it because it was Cam Newton. And I didn't have a problem with him calling Brock Purdy a game manager because, see, in my opinion, the game manager means great things. You see this guy standing next to me? Best game manager probably that I've ever seen. This guy, the other best game manager I've ever seen. You know why? Because a game manager isn't somebody who's bereft of talent. A game manager isn't somebody who can't win a game for your football team. A game manager is somebody who understands what the game needs from its inception to its conclusion, and then will acquiesce to what they need to do as a quarterback. If it's 3rd and 6, and I need to make a throw on a post, or I need to make an out route, and I got to throw it across the field because we need that first down, or I understand if they're in cover 0 and they bring the blitz, and they've got man-to-man, and I can run because the DB's backs are turned, if I have the skill set, I'm going to do that. If it's 3rd and 16, and I'm up 12 with 10 minutes left, and I understand that punting the football is not a bad thing, I'm going to hit my check down or throw the ball away to not get sacked. That's what a game manager does. A game manager understands what he needs to do in that moment to benefit his football team. And you know how I can say that? Do you remember Tom Brady when he had the Danny Amendolas and the Julian Edelmans and the Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski, right? He was a different type quarterback. It was a lot of not dink and dunk, but short routes, slants, out routes, getting the ball down the field methodically. What did Tom Brady look like when he got Randy Moss? Looked like the whole new boss, didn't he? Right? One of the best seasons Tom Brady's ever had. Well, because he said, I understand that even though the tools change, I need to be able to adjust with the tools, and that's okay. Patrick Mahomes, the same thing. Looked different with and without Tyreek Hill, right? But still effective. Still has won 3 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 league MVPs. Peyton Manning was the same way. Peyton Manning, do you know sometimes a quarterback will look at the defense and he understands that they may have a too high safety and he says, I'm going to check to a run, and then they end up getting 10, 15 yards on that run? That is nothing regarding the quarterback other than his acumen and his IQ. He won't get the stats, but his team just got a first down. That is what game managers are. So if you're ever around somebody, and if you're this person, I caution you, don't be the individual to say a game manager is somebody with a negative connotation. Don't attach that to them, because it's not. Game managers are what's needed. And the best game managers, in my estimation, are the Hall of Fame players that you see here. The Peyton Mannings, the Tom Bradys, the Patrick Mahomes. What's the biggest issue people have with Josh Allen? That he turns the ball over, right? He's led the league in turnovers since he came into the NFL. Imagine how more phenomenal Josh Allen would be if he took care of the football, which is why I'm on record by saying I think he'll be better without Stephon Diggs, because he won't try to force things. He's gotten older and more mature. Josh Allen needs to become a better game manager. Take what the defense gives you, and when you need to be great because he has the talent, go be great. Remember, great quarterbacks are great when they need to be. You don't have to be great on every single play, because when you try to, a lot of times you get yourself in trouble. All right, that's my nonsense narrative for the week. When we come back for the break, it'll be the final drive. We'll be back with the final segment of Move the Chains right after this. And welcome back into the show. We've hit the final segment of the show, so you know what that means. It's time for the final drive. Number one picks. People think that they're going to be Hall of Famers. That's why you draft them. I'll just sit here and tell you the truth. The majority of number one picks not only don't make the Hall of Fame, a lot of them don't even become all pros. A good number of them are out of the league quickly. It's just the way it is. 14 number one overall picks are in the Hall of Fame right now. It's kind of like less than 2%. It's a small percentage. And it's not because of anything other than the draft, as much as you try to evaluate, a lot of times is a crapshoot. So I want to remind everybody, the NFL draft and teams who are able to draft from rounds 3 through 7, even 4 through 7, well, are the teams that get the job done. Yeah, you want to hit on those first round picks, number one overall picks, but you build later on in the draft because you have more opportunity. All right, don't forget, you can not only catch Move the Change right here on the Sports Leader, WXTX Fox 54, but you also catch us on YouTube at Move_the_Change. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, post a question. Anything you provide for us will be appreciated. All right, we killed it again, man. For the best production crew in the business, I'm your boy, Jonathan Bam Rivers, and until next time right here on Move the Chains, God bless.